Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your Smegro 31. I'm recording the night before for the 8-game slate for Memorial Day starting at 105. So it's pretty much the bulk of the games are going to be during the day. A couple afternoon games and one night game. So I'll break that on down for you and be a Memorial Day weekend. As I've been saying all the videos, just thank you for all of you who have served or have had family who have served or had family members who have made the ultimate sacrifice to make this country a free place for us to be able to live and enjoy these freedoms. So I would say hats off to the military. Um, very thankful for all that they have done for our country throughout the generations. So, uh, kind of a difficult slate here. Not great pitching, some of the good pitching and bad matchups, and have a couple weather concerns. So I'm just going to go game by game. We'll see what we can figure out here for this slate. So, first game is Boston going to Baltimore. Should be maybe like a 40% chance of rain here, so it shouldn't be too bad. But this has one of the highest totals on the slate. It's Baltimore. Yes, it's hard to hit power wise in this park, although Baltimore's doing a great job of that the last 2 years, even though they moved the walls back. But winds are out 14 miles per hour, all close to 80 degrees, so it should be good hitting weather here. Cooper Criswell, he started out decent, had one clunker against Tampa Bay, faced Tampa Bay again, and went back and had a better game against them the second time out in only a few days. But coming up against this Orioles team, like they're just so powerful. They've got so many weapons here. I just consider them in a GPP, maybe in the medium range, but not too good overall. Irvin hasn't pitched much this season. And O'Neill, I think it's still going to be out on this one. So there's one big right-handed bat. So the rest of the righties don't scare me that much against the lefty. So I think he could be in play here, but I'm not like super confident and in love with him as the play. But I think he does have some relevance. Bat wise, with the weather, I think both Boston and Baltimore should be top stacks here. Although, like I said, try to stick to like the righties here. They'll kind of like move Reese Snyder up to like second, and we'll have to see if O'Neill's in or not. Connor Wong might move up to like second or third if he's out. Cooper might move up in the lineup too, and you'll probably see like Gonzalez, Grissom, and Rafaela, who all have a little speed and a little bit of power there too. Can they hit it out of this park? Not sure. I like them probably better at home, but they do get the ninth inning. So I think at GPP, if you want to play a stack of them, that they'll be fine. Or like maybe secondary stack in cash. Baltimore, I think, is going to be my primary one. It's between them and Cleveland. I don't always like playing in cash. The team that goes out the course field for the first day, sometimes the timing's not there. So especially with travel and stuff. So let's see what happens there. But Baltimore definitely a favorite stack. Stick to the lefties, Henderson, Rushman, switch hitter, O'Hearn. I skip over Mountcastle, Santander, and Cowser. I'd probably build a stack that way. Probably won't play Mullins. He's just ice cold here, and the other ones in the lineup should be righties. Toronto at the Chicago White Sox. Um, Winds out here at 16 miles per hour. So that's awesome hitting weather. 68 degrees. So definitely up the bats here. But I think Chris Bassett, he's been so strong, and the White Sox have um, not been great, even with the wind. I think it's kind of like going Colorado goes to Coors. Like this year, we've been fine taking pitchers against them because they haven't been that scary. And the White Sox have put together some games against some decent pitchers, but left-handed power, like Sheets, is the only one I'm really looking at here. And Bassett's been good against righties, so I don't really struggle playing with Bassett in cash, and he should have a very good performance. They have a 20.8 K rate against right-handed pitching, and like their ISO has been like 0.121. So uh, again, not nothing really to show here. So that wise, I really love the Blue Jays. Again, third favorite stack. I'm probably going to play Cleveland and Baltimore above them. But if the weather changes or something, and Baltimore game and it looks worse, then this is definitely a decent game with the wind blowing out. And White Sox would definitely make a decent leverage stack here against Bassett. But I mean, I don't know who I play. Like Fam, decent both sides usually. Cheats, but I really no one. So and that's probably the stack that's going to take down a GPP, but I just can't figure out how to cobble it together. I just don't like the matchup. Kansas City, Minnesota, a really good chance of rain here, 63%. So Marsh and Ryan, I think Marsh is definitely good. Minnesota's been better. If you look at the top 10, you might be a little okay, actually, I just updated today, so this should be 526. But I started to take like just a 2 week average, and if I don't think that's enough, maybe I'll readjust. But I've been doing it for like the full season recently, and it just seems like that isn't really a great representation because so much has changed when you average like, the whole season. Like players, the call of players, lineups have changed and stuff. So I think maybe 2 to 3 weeks is when I've had a sweet spot. But right now, Minnesota is currently not in the top 10, which is kind of shocking for strikeouts. But um, against right-handed pitching, looks like they're 22.8%. So, that's just below the 23 that gets you in the top 10 list there. But so there's definitely strikeouts in this lineup. So Marsh is definitely in play and probably my favorite one in the medium range here. And Joe Ryan, again, I like him, but with the rain, we'll just have to see what the forecast looks like before. Should be the top play on the slate, even though he struggled. I know Kansas City can get after him, but Ryan's been solid also. So again, both pitchers in play, but I think it depends on the weather. And same thing with bats. I think Kansas City makes a good GPP stack here against Ryan, almost a leverage stack if he's going to be popular as top pitcher on the slate. And Minnesota always makes a decent cheap one. Almost all the guys are in 4K range or 3K range, and there's usually easy to find 3 or 4 players that you like to have the splits advantage against the pitcher. Next, we move on to Milwaukee. Justin Steele and Robert Gasser. Steele, he's really struggled to start the season, and Milwaukee has. I know they've struggled against left-handed batting, but they do have some righties with some power. So I think that Milwaukee bats are solidly in play here, more than they were earlier in the season, and I think that playing Steel and Gasser on the other side. Chicago has been solid at times, but um, against the lefty here, some of the guys scare me, but I think I like to to play the Cubs against righties more than lefties. Uh, so Gasser, I think, is probably my favorite cheaper pitcher, and there's really no cheap pitcher here. Like when we're talking cheap pitcher, we're talking like low 7Ks. There's nobody like really like cheap for you to play on the slate that you're really gonna like. So bat wise, if I'm playing in Chicago, Suzuki, Morel, Honer, probably not Swanson. Knapp has just struggled this season. Amaya, the catcher, I don't really like that. So maybe Bellinger. He usually hits both sides of the plate pretty well as a lefty. So probably mini stack, right? Probably not going to a full five there. And then I like Mont Monasterio stereo leading off at 27 is decent here against the lefty. Contreras, if you can get up to him as catcher, it's great. Adamas Ortiz, 35 at third base, has some good power. Sanchez, there's another cheap catcher for you if you just want to go kind of down the middle for that. Trino, Millers, Perkins. I mean, there's so many righties that you can throw into the stack, and some of them are so cheap under like 3,500. So definitely makes a nice mix in with your cash stack or GPP stack to make lineup work to just get more expensive bats in. Washington and Atlanta, Mitchell Parker and Charlie Morton. I'm completely out on Mitchell Parker here. He has had some solid outings. He's not um, horrible, and but there is like a 31% chance of rain here. Winds are blowing out 84 degrees, so it should be good hitting weather. So it's risky at probably in a GPP, but if you need a cheap pitcher, I think he's the one that I would play in a GPP. I don't think I could do him in cash. Morton on the other side, I think he's solid enough. Like Washington put up some runs today at home. It's they just they're pesky and they're a young team that have even Joey Gallo had a home run, like, and he'll do that from time to time. And you've got a good balance of some veterans and some young guys on this team. And they're starting to click, but there's misfires here and there, so it's not a smooth running engine by any means. But they've graduated from the dust from 1,000 cuts last year, where they were just like so annoying chipping away at you, and they really have some speed and power. So I think Abrams is like a future superstar leading off here. Winker has been solid. Meneses has stepped back a little bit, but I think that he'll get there. Luis Garcia has some power, has been good. Reese's catcher is usually cheap and has some pop. So some nice pieces here. But I think Morton should be okay. And the other reason I think Park will be okay is unfortunately Acuna. So non-contact injury. I think he was trying to go back from second base to first base, blew out his knee, and I believe he tore the ACL in his other knee, not the surgically repaired one that he missed season a couple of years ago with. So it's just so sad. Like such an explosive player that could, just be breaking records, just can't stay healthy. I mean, like Royce Lewis and like Buxton and like Trout, there's just like so many of them there that just I have like need a rabbit's foot or something. They're just so cursed. So that takes a big piece out of this lineup, and the lineup has not been red hot recently either. So again, I think you can play Parker, but I also still think you can play Braves bats. I think the fifth favorite stack here. So Washington against Morton, there's like the cheap pieces I like. I don't know if you're going up to Abrams, but you can stack the other pieces there. And then the Braves, they'll probably throw a bunch of righties out there. Arcia might lead off, since it's against a lefty. Like Harris will probably start leading off again, as when Acuna was out earlier in the season. Uh, or it was Albies was out and he moved up there. So, he'll move up in order, but facing a lefty tomorrow, you'll probably see Arcia, Albies, Riley's back. Ozuna should be probably a lock against the lefty. DiArno has some power against it. Duvall has some power against it. So there are definitely a 5-person Brave stack that you could build here in your contest. St. Louis and Cincinnati, Lance Lynn and Nick Lodolo coming off of the IL groin issues. Should be good through a couple extended bullpen sessions. Wasn't on the IL too long. I know he was coming back from another injury previous to that, but it looks like he's heading in the right direction. St. Louis is definitely a decent matchup to come back to. It's in the greatest American small park, though. So a 9-run total and winds blowing out 14 miles per hour. So that should help hitting also. So, St. Louis and Cincinnati definitely can be. Why did Cincinnati not make the board? It's weird. Well, with the weather in the Mets game, let's move them over here. And Cincinnati with a threat of rain at Kansas City. Move them down there. Make it all Kansas City. Just drive me absolutely nuts here. Kansas City down one. And then I think you're going to put like with the wind, we'll put Cincinnati here. We'll put St. Louis here as GPP, even though they are pretty cheap. So Lynn and Lodolo, I think, are in play. But I prefer Marsh unless it like rains and even with the weather, like Lynn, I mean, there are some strikeouts definitely in the Cincinnati lineup, 25.4%. So again, same principle, even though there's a win, a great power factor, if they're not hitting the ball anywhere, then it's not going anywhere. And if they're striking out, then that should help the pitcher. So Lynn should be in play, and Lodolo, I think, is in play for a degree too, because St. Louis has been bad. But you can make a case for bats on both sides. Like Wynn is a great one-off at shortstop here, always leading off against lefty. He's got power and speed. Newbar is banged up and scratched. I don't know if he'll be in the lineup, but Herrera, the catcher, Carlson. I'd stick to the righties, but you normally play Goldsmith and Arenado, so probably going to be a 3-man stack here. And then on Cincinnati side, I've never heard anybody pronounce his name, but the rookie that leads off here, Tubbies, Herb Tubbies. Um, he's only 2,500. He's always usually a lock. Um, leading off there. Against it with the splits advantage, and then Cruz like behind him, and Candelario and Fraley that you definitely have. And Benson might move up in the lineup too, so definitely some decent options on Cincinnati for bats. Dodgers and Mets, supposed to be 70% chance of rain here. Like the games just start at 4 o'clock. Will they move it early to try to get in? Will the rain taper off and it turn into a night game? I don't know. Gavin Stone and McGill, I think they both make decent pitchers here. Stone's been solid, and McGill, even though he just came back off of the IL recently, has been solid also. And the Dodgers, like Otani's struggling with a hamstring issue, and they have put up in the last 2 weeks, the Dodgers are seventh worst in Major League Baseball in run production. So it's not the white hot team that they have been, and trust me, they will put it together and they'll start to heat up again, but they're in a pitcher's park. So McGill, I think, if you're looking in that like lower 7K range, is solidly in play here. If the weather's going to cooperate, and Stone is also bat wise, I think they're just both leverage plays with the weather, and how the form that both teams have been in recently. And then finally, we have Cleveland going out to Colorado. Uh, Curry against Gomber. Curry's pitched a couple games, but he hasn't really gone that deep. So I really don't trust him for a start in Coors here. And Gomber, just even though he's got a 2.76 ERA, he's been better on the road than at home. So and Cleveland doesn't really strike out much. Um, and there's a little bit of power here. I do like that he's a lefty because most of Cleveland, has some decent lefties, but they do have some decent righties too. So, yeah, just fade Gomber, make it simple here. So, bat wise, the righties Freeman should lead off. Jimenez, I don't know if he'll hit second there, but I probably skip him over lefty lefty. Although last time he faced a lefty, I believe he had a really decent evening. Um, there's nobody else for me to play in my stack at second base, so I ended up playing him, and I was glad I did because I think he was the highest scoring guardian on the team. Jose Ramirez is definitely a good play here. I skip over Naylor. Fry, it's catcher eligible or left field. Um, Jonathan Rodriguez, who they call Johnny Rocket, has not hit a home run yet, probably coming soon, but he had a solid game today. I believe he had, and it was just a really good hitting day with he went 1 for 3 of the walk and one. That's the wrong day. But I just remember like looking at his DK score today, and I was like, wow, that's I thought he actually had the first home run with the amount of points that he had, but then I looked back and I saw that it was different. So yeah, it's not quite up yet. But yeah. So his first couple of games weren't great, 0, 7, and 4, but there's too much talent here in Coors Field, 3,100. Um, I definitely think that he'll be in my Cleveland stacks there, and then the bottom of the lineup too. Like they're cheap guys to fill in. Like nobody's Ramirez is the most expensive one, 6,400, and then you have a couple 5K guys, but they're both lefties, so I probably won't play them. Fried right at 5K maybe, but the rest of this team is so cheap, and it's Freeman at 4,100. Um, Johnny Rock is at 3,100, Arias at third base, 38, Hedges the other catching options sometimes at 29, and Ros Rosicio at 37 at shortstop. Like you could build a nice right-handed stack here pretty cheap. Playing the Rockies on the other side against Curry, maybe the top three in Blackman, Tovar, and McMahon, but I don't think I'm going too deep on them unless I'm doing like 150 max entry. So that's all of the matchups that we have. So let's look at some of the builds. And again, we have to look at weather and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to take Bassett, even with the wind and everything out in Chicago. I know that really helps batting, but I think he's going to be solid. For SP2, probably going to go um, Gasser or somebody in that range. I'll see how the Dodgers Mets game is too, because I'm really interested in Stone or McGill if I can get to them. But I'm probably going to end up on around like the Gasser range with my build. So give me Baltimore. So Rushman there, if he's not in, I might take Contreras from the um, Milwaukee. O'Hearn, um, Milwaukee second baseman, Gunnar Henderson, Santander, and I threw just the outfielder from Milwaukee and Chirizo. I can't say names tonight. I'm so sorry. Chiriro. Um, but there's so many other ones that can Perkins and other ones that fit in there at that price point. And then for GPP, I'm gonna play Parker probably against Atlanta and take a chance there that they're kind of watered down and that he's got some strikeouts. So but again, it's all going to depend on like the Mets game because I'd love to get one of those two pitchers in there also. But definitely give me Toronto. I'm going to take advantage of the wind in that direction there um, against a pitcher with 11.91 ERA and a really bad bullpen behind him. So give me Jensen, give me Schneider, Bichette, and Varsho, and then I'm going to fill in with like I know um, J. Rom is a switch hitter from Cleveland, but I'm going to fill in with right-handed Cleveland bats probably in the rest of the lineup there. If you want to go heavier Cleveland than Toronto, that's fine too. But that's how we're going to finish that out. So hopefully that helps you with some ways to build for this Memorial Day. And if you have questions, put them down below. Hit me with Murderer31 on Twitter, or X, whatever we call it nowadays. I really enjoy the interactions that I've had from our people that watch the show. You guys ask some really good questions too. So always check the chat because some people, if maybe it's something you've been wondering for a while and you don't feel up to putting in the chat, maybe somebody else is asking it or somebody asks a great question and it's going to really help you out. So, don't be afraid to use that feature. We try to get back to answer them as soon as we possibly can because we're here to help you out. So if you want more information on FSi DFS, you can get it into the description of the video. We'll take you to our pricing page, and pricing for everything is pretty cheap. There's still a lot of sports going on Monday, so $6 for a full day pass, and it'll get you everything on the site. And if these videos help us back, like, subscribe to our channel, and share with your friends. We have eclipsed the 4,900 mark. We are heading toward 5,000. We are about 97 away. So help us chip away at that. If you haven't subscribed already, please just take a couple seconds to do it. It would mean a lot to us if we could make it to 5,000 by the end of the season. It would just be absolutely amazing. Um, and thank you for all your support over the years. So once again, hope you have a great time celebrating with your friends and family. The freedom that we have in the Memorial Day weekend holiday and wrap things up before it's back to life and back to reality on Tuesday for most people is go back to school and work. And in the meantime, enjoy your day. Good luck in your contests, and I'll see you next time.